It's a strange game we play, isn't it? We spend our lives trying to repair ourselves, polishing the mask we show the world, pretending we're whole, pretending we're fine. But what if we were never meant to be flawless? What if the cracks you hide are the very places where light was meant to enter? We've been taught that damage disqualifies us, that our wounds make us weak, unworthy, less than. Yet every soul that's ever truly lived, every heart that's ever changed the world, was cracked open first. The universe doesn't choose the unbroken. It chooses the trembling ones, the ones who have looked into their own darkness and returned with eyes that see differently. So maybe your brokenness isn't a curse, maybe it's a calling. Because what if the very thing you're trying to hide is the reason you were chosen at all? Here's the strange thing about damage. We're taught to hide it, to seal our cracks, to cover our scars, to pretend the fracture never happened. But what if the very thing you've been trying to fix is the thing that made you alive? Every great soul, every visionary, every healer, every truth teller was cracked. Every single one. Broken in some impossible way, and somehow that was the doorway. Not despite their brokenness, but because of it. The universe has never needed the perfect ones. It chooses the trembling ones, the ones who have fallen apart and dared to return. Because in their breaking, something sacred happens. The illusion of control dies. You see, the undamaged believe they're steering the ship. They build walls of certainty around themselves, thinking safety lies there. But the damage, they've watched those walls collapse. They've felt the ground vanish beneath their feet. They've learned the truth, that nothing holds forever except what cannot be held. And when everything shatters, when you finally stop pretending you're in charge, something vast enters through the crack. Call it grace, call it life, call it the universe breathing through you, because that's how it works. A sealed vessel can't be filled, a clenched hand can't receive, but the broken one, the one who's open, raw, undone, becomes the perfect vessel. The light finds the openings. The water finds the cracks. The universe finds its way in. Remember this, being damaged is not the same as being destroyed. A cup with a crack still holds water. A window chipped by time still lets the sun in. And sometimes that chip scatters the light into colors you've never seen before. Your damage doesn't disqualify you, it qualifies you. Look at history, at spirit, at myth. Moses could barely speak, yet he became a voice for the divine. David was dismissed, overlooked, too small, and yet his heart became a king's. Paul carried guilt heavy as stone and turned it into grace. It's a pattern as old as creation itself. Brokenness becoming doorway, weakness becoming vessel, damage becoming design. And maybe that's the secret the universe keeps whispering. I can only flow through what's open. When life cracks you open, it's not punishment, it's preparation. You lose the illusion of self-sufficiency, and in that loss you finally make room for something greater. Maybe that's why the universe never chooses the ones who think they have it all together. The self-made man, the flawless performer, the one filled to the brim with his own certainty. There's no space left in him. But you with the trembling hands and the haunted heart, you've been hollowed out. And that hollowing, painful as it was, is what makes you usable. Because only the hollow vessel can echo, only the broken shell can sing. Maybe this is why your story has been so heavy. Maybe every fracture was a form of sculpting, every heartbreak a carving, every failure a chisel in the hands of something vast. You thought you were being broken down, but you were being opened up. Because transformation never comes from comfort. It comes from collapse. The seed must break before it grows. The dawn only comes after the night. You have not been punished by your pain. You have been prepared by it. And that is the paradox of damage. The crack is not your weakness, it's your invitation. The light is waiting to pour through. There's something you need to know about the crack. It's not the end, it's the beginning. The world tells you a crack is where something breaks. The universe whispers, a crack is where something begins to breathe. We spend so much time trying to seal them, patch them, hide them, terrified that anyone might see where we've been torn. But if you seal every opening, nothing new can enter. A perfect surface keeps out the light. A perfect heart keeps out love. Don't you see? The light isn't waiting for your perfection. It's waiting for your permission. Think of water. It can't enter what's closed. It can't fill what's sealed. But give it the smallest opening, the tiniest fracture in the stone, and it finds its way in. Slowly, silently, unstoppably. That's how grace works. That's how life itself moves, through the fractures, through the letting go, through the places you thought were ruined. The universe cannot fill what is already full, but it can flow through the broken. Being damaged is not the same as being destroyed. A cup with a crack still holds water. A window, chipped by time, still lets the light through. And sometimes that chip, that imperfection, scatters the light in ways a flawless pane never could. Maybe your life is like that, refracting something holy, something only your exact kind of broken could reveal. When you look closely, every sacred thing in this world carries a scar. The mountain is cracked by wind and time. The ocean floor is split open by pressure and fire. Even the stars, they are born from explosions, and yet they shine. Maybe that's what you're doing too. Maybe the place you think is shattered is where your light is trying to escape. Most people spend their lives trying to go back to who they were, before the fall, before the loss, before the wound. But there is no going back. There is only through. The old self has served its purpose. It was never meant to survive the fire, and in its place something vast, something luminous, something infinitely more you begins to emerge. This isn't recovery, this is resurrection. You think you've been broken, but the truth is you've been opened. The crack in your life is not proof of your failure. It's proof that something new is growing, something that couldn't breathe inside the shell you used to call yourself. Every soul that awakens does so through fracture. The seed must split to become a tree. The caterpillar must dissolve to become the butterfly. So don't curse the breaking, bless it. The crack is not your curse, it's your calling. When you finally stop trying to be whole, when you finally stop hiding your scars, something extraordinary happens. The universe rushes in. You start to see the pattern. You start to see that every breaking was the sound of life entering you. You start to see that your pain was never punishment. It was preparation. Because every fracture is a passage. Every wound is a doorway. And the light always, always finds a way through. The lesson of the crack. Through the openings, the universe moved. Every great soul has walked through the fire. Every name we whisper in reverence was once a name spoken in doubt. Their stories shine, not because they were flawless, but because they were fractured. Take Moses, a man who could barely speak, trembling, uncertain, stuttering on every word. Yet the universe asked him to speak, to be a voice for the divine. How absurd, isn't it? The one who could not speak becomes the one chosen to deliver the message. But that's how grace works. It does not look for the strongest throat. It looks for the softest heart. Because when you know you can't do it alone, you leave space for something greater to move through you. Then there was David, the small shepherd boy forgotten in the fields. Too young, too weak, too ordinary. And yet, it was precisely this David whom the universe crowned. He never forgot where he came from. Even when he wore the crown, he remembered the smell of the sheep, the sound of solitude, the smallness of his own being. That is why he could carry the weight of a kingdom. Because only those who have felt insignificant can be trusted with significance. And then there was Paul, a man who once hunted, condemned, destroyed the very people whose faith he would later preach. Imagine that. Imagine waking each morning knowing that your hands had silenced the voices of those you now speak for. That is what guilt can do. It can crush you, or it can transform you. And Paul chose transformation. He became a vessel not because he was pure, but because he was pierced. Every story carries the same pattern: brokenness, surrender, awakening. The ones who try to be self-made become sealed containers, no room for the divine to pour in. But the ones who know their insufficiency, who've looked into the darkness of their own soul and come back trembling, they become instruments. The crack becomes a channel. The wound becomes a way. Look closely and you'll see it everywhere. Across scripture, across myth, across time. Every enlightened one, every teacher, every leader carries a scar. Buddha left his palace of illusions. Jesus carried the weight of betrayal. Rumi was torn open by love and loss. The universe has always chosen the ones who have been undone, because only the undone understand humility. Only the emptied can be filled. These aren't just stories from long ago. They're mirrors, reflections of you, of me, of anyone who has ever been shattered and somehow found a way to sing again. Maybe that's why you're hearing this now, because your story, your damage, is part of the same ancient rhythm. You are not outside the pattern. You are the pattern. The universe never asks for perfection. It asks for openness. The light doesn't care how the window broke, only that it can now shine through. So if you feel unworthy, if you think you've fallen too far, remember this. Every saint, every prophet, every poet once stood where you are now, on the edge between breaking and becoming. And in that trembling space, the voice of the universe whispered the same truth it whispers to you now. You are not disqualified by your damage. You are defined by it. We think damage is the thing that happened to us, the heartbreak, the betrayal, the loss, the moment everything we trusted fell apart. But damage isn't the event. Damage is what happens after. It's the quiet confession you whisper to yourself when no one else can hear. I'm not who I was before. That's what damage really is. The moment you realize you can never go back. We call that loss. The universe calls it transformation. Everyone else tries to recover, to patch the hole, to rewind the story, to return to normal, but the damaged person knows there is no normal anymore. The old self has died, and in its absence, something ancient begins to stir, something more real, more awake, more alive than what came before. You see, the world celebrates recovery, but the universe celebrates rebirth. Recovery is about restoration, trying to rebuild what was. Rebirth is about revelation, allowing what wants to emerge. And to be reborn, you must first admit that the old you is gone. That's the wound's secret purpose. It forces honesty. It strips away illusion. It ends the pretending. When you say, I cannot go back, you're not giving up. You're opening up. Because the truth is, damage doesn't destroy you. It destroys who you never really were. The self that was built on control, on perfection, on keeping it all together, that's what cracks apart. And from those cracks, your real self begins to breathe. This is why the damaged person carries a quiet wisdom. They have faced the collapse and found there is life on the other side. They've seen that survival isn't about winning, it's about surrender. They've learned that wholeness is not perfection, it's honesty. That's what makes them radiant in a way the untouched will never understand. The unbroken often believe strength means never bending. But when the storm comes, it's the unbending that shatters. The damaged have already bent, they've already fallen and risen and fallen again. They know how to move with life. They've stopped resisting the tide. They've stopped fighting to be who they were. And in that surrender, they discover something no amount of control can give. Peace. Because peace is not found in holding on. Peace is found in letting go. Damage teaches this. It teaches humility, compassion, softness. Not the weakness of collapse, but the strength of surrender. It teaches that to live is to lose, and to love is to risk being torn open. But the tearing is how the light enters. The loss is how life makes space for what's next. You may think your damage is proof that you've been ruined, but maybe it's proof that you've been chosen. To carry the lesson others are too afraid to learn. The lesson that pain isn't the end of the story, it's the turning point. You were not meant to return to who you were. You were meant to become someone new, someone deeper, someone truer, someone who understands that every wound is the universe's way of saying, you are ready to be remade. That's what damage really means. It's not the breaking, it's the beginning, the crack that lets the light in, the space through which grace flows, the invitation to finally stop surviving and start becoming. Something beautiful happens when you finally accept your damage. You become humble. Not the kind of humility the world praises, the performance of smallness, but the quiet, radiant kind that comes from knowing you are not the center of the universe. You stop believing you're the star of the show. You realize you're part of something vast, something ancient, something breathing through you. And this realization doesn't diminish you, it liberates you. Because when you understand you're not in charge, you stop trying to control everything. You stop exhausting yourself trying to fix every outcome, to force every door open, to manage every moment of your life. You begin to trust what catches you. That trust, that quiet surrender is what humility really is. You no longer need to prove your worth. You no longer need to compete with perfection. You simply exist. And somehow, that's enough. This is where compassion is born, real compassion. Not the kind that pities or looks down, but the kind that recognizes itself in another's eyes. Because once you've been broken, you can no longer look at another's pain and pretend not to understand. You see yourself in their trembling. You hear your own story in their silence. That's the strange gift of damage. It softens you. It makes you gentle in a world that worships hardness. It teaches you that every person you meet is fighting an invisible battle, just like you once were, just like you still are. The proud can only see differences. The humbled see connection. The proud build walls, the broken build bridges. And isn't that what the universe has been asking of us all along? To stop hiding behind perfection and start reaching through our cracks. To stop judging pain as weakness and start seeing it as the thread that binds us all. When you've fallen enough times, when you've tasted your own despair and come back shaking but alive, something inside you changes forever. You lose the instinct to condemn. You stop saying, why can't they just pull themselves together? Because you remember how it felt when you couldn't. Do you remember how it felt when someone finally reached down and didn't fix you but simply sat beside you in the dark? That is compassion. Not rescuing, not preaching, just being there. The damaged understand this better than anyone. They've learned that sometimes trying harder isn't the answer. Sometimes trying softer is. Sometimes you don't need to rise, you just need to rest. And when you've learned that for yourself, you start offering it to others. You stop saying, get over it. You start saying, take your time. I've been there. You start carrying others the way life carried you. Because when you know what it's like to fall, your hands instinctively learn how to catch. That's what damage does. It makes your heart porous. It makes you human in a way that perfection never could. Humility and compassion are not side effects of pain. They are its purpose. The universe breaks us open not to destroy us, but to make us softer, gentler, more capable of love. Because love cannot flow through a closed heart. It can only move through one that has been cracked wide open. So when you feel small, when you feel humbled by your own limits, remember that smallness is sacred. That gentleness is the mark of wisdom. And your compassion, born of all you've endured, is the quiet evidence that your pain has already begun to heal the world. There's a story I love. A man once went to a teacher and said, Master, I have so many problems. I am anxious. I am depressed. I have failed at everything I've tried. How can I possibly be of any use? The teacher smiled and said, you've just listed your qualifications. And the man didn't understand. But that's the secret, isn't it? The things you think disqualify you are the very things that make you ready. The heartbreaks, the addictions, the failures, the falls. These are not stains on your soul. They are your credentials. They are the proof that you have lived, that you have felt, that you have been cracked open enough for the universe to pour something through you. The ones who have suffered, who have walked through the fire and returned with ashes on their skin, those are the ones the universe can use, not because they are perfect, but because they are empty enough for truth to echo through them. Your anxiety has taught you that life cannot be controlled. Your depression has taught you that happiness cannot be forced. Your failures have taught you humility. Your losses have taught you compassion. Every scar on your heart is a line in your resume for the sacred. The world sees broken. The universe sees ready. Because only the broken know how to listen. Only the fallen know how to rise. Only the trembling know how to trust. That's why the light keeps choosing the cracked vessels. Because only through the cracks can the light escape. The proud man believes he can carry everything alone. But his hands are too full. There's no room for grace to enter. The damaged one, though, their hands are open. Their walls are gone. Life can move through them like wind through a window. The universe does not ask, are you whole? It asks, are you open? And every time you've been broken, you've answered yes. That's the paradox of pain. It prepares you for what joy cannot. Comfort teaches nothing. Struggle teaches everything. You learn how to bend without breaking. You learn how to walk when the ground disappears. You learn to trust what you cannot see. And that's what makes you powerful. Not invincible, but real. Not untouchable, but untamed. You've been refined by fire, burned down to something essential. And what remains is the truth of who you are. Stripped of illusion, emptied of ego, ready for something vast to move through you. That's what the universe looks for, not perfection, but participation. The willingness to be shaped, to be used, to be cracked open again and again until all that's left is light. So when you look at your damage and whisper, why me? Remember, you are not being punished. You are being prepared. Every wound was a lesson. Every failure was a doorway. Every fall was the universe saying, you're ready for more. You are not broken beyond use. You are broken into use. And that's what damage truly is. Not a disqualification, but a divine qualification. The proof that you've been touched by both shadow and light, and that you now carry both within you. The world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your experience. It needs your story, your empathy, your openness. It needs you exactly as you are, because the ones who have been broken the deepest are the ones who know how to heal the gentlest. And that is your calling. That is your qualification. The universe chooses you, not in spite of your cracks, but because of them. There is a secret hidden inside every breaking, a secret the comfortable will never understand. The seed that never breaks open will never grow. The life that never collapses will never transform. This is the transformational secret, that what feels like destruction is always creation in disguise. Every ending is the beginning dressed in darker clothes. We think transformation is soft, gentle, radiant, but it isn't. Transformation is violent. It tears through everything you thought you were. It doesn't politely ask to rearrange your life. It shatters the walls you built to keep life out. That's why most people avoid it. They spend their years polishing what's already dying, guarding what was meant to fall away. But the damaged person, they've already been cracked open. They know the secret. The breaking is the becoming. You cannot be transformed and remain the same. You cannot cling to the old self and step into the new world. The universe uses collapse as its language of creation. It uses the fires of loss to forge the gold of wisdom. It uses endings as sacred ground for birth. When the storm hits, the unbroken shatter. But the broken, the ones who have already fallen apart, they bend, they breathe, they bloom, because they've learnt the rhythm of renewal, to let go, to fall, to rise again. That's what damage teaches. It's not recovery, it's resurrection. The old you was never meant to survive the light that's coming. And so life takes you apart, piece by piece, until only the truth remains. This is not cruelty, it's compassion of the highest order. Because the universe knows the only way to free you from your illusions is to let them crumble, to show you that you were never the mask, never the success, never the identity you fought to protect. You were always the space behind it, the awareness within it, the light that keeps finding its way through every crack. Transformation is not about becoming something new. It's about remembering what you always were, before the world told you to hide it. That's why the breaking hurts so deeply. Because it isn't just loss, it's revelation. It's the moment when everything falls away, and what's real begins to breathe again. You were not destroyed by your pain. You were unveiled by it. The fire didn't burn you down, it burned away everything that wasn't you. That is the secret. The universe is not trying to fix you, it's trying to free you. Every collapse, every heartbreak, every time the floor disappeared beneath your feet, it wasn't life punishing you. It was life remaking you. It was life saying, you are ready to see what you are made of. You are not the ashes. You are the flame that rose from them. You are not the wound. You are the light that poured through it. And once you've learned this, once you've felt it in your bones, fear begins to lose its power over you. Because you know the truth now. Nothing that breaks you can take you. Every fall was a rising in disguise. Every loss was a clearing for something new. This is the rhythm of the universe. The perpetual becoming through the art of undoing. The transformational secret is simple, yet almost no one believes it until life forces them to. You are not here to stay the same. You are here to dissolve, to evolve, to emerge again and again, brighter each time, softer each time, more open each time. The universe doesn't destroy what you are, it destroys what you are not. And that is how the light wins. There is something miraculous that happens when you stop hiding your cracks. The moment you stop pretending to be whole, you give others permission to be real. It's strange, isn't it? We spend so much of our lives polishing the mask, terrified that if anyone saw behind it, they would turn away. But when you finally set the mask down, when you finally whisper, yes, I am broken, the world doesn't recoil, it exhales. Because everyone is carrying something. Everyone is cracked in some quiet way. Your honesty becomes a bridge. Your vulnerability becomes a light in someone else's darkness. That's how healing happens, not through pretending to be whole, but through admitting you're not. You think your scars make you unlovable, but they're the very reason people can love you honestly. They can see themselves in you, because truth recognizes truth. Pain recognizes pain. And light always recognizes light, no matter how cracked the glass that carries it. We spend our days comparing our insides to other people's outsides, forgetting that everyone bleeds beneath the surface. But when someone dares to be real, to stand there trembling, unmasked, unfiltered, something in us stirs. We remember our own humanness. We remember that we are not alone. That is the power of brokenness. It connects what perfection isolates. The moment you stop pretending to shine, you start to glow. The moment you stop trying to be flawless, you become transparent enough for the light to move through you. And people feel that. They feel it in their bones. That's why the most beautiful people are rarely the ones who have it all together. They're the ones who've been to the edge, fallen apart, and somehow found the courage to come back. Not polished, but present. There is a kind of beauty that only exists in those who have suffered and stayed open anyway. The ones who have every reason to close their hearts, but choose to love instead. They are the healers, the bridges, the quiet lights. They remind us that the human spirit is not perfect, it's porous. That's what makes it sacred. When you show your wounds, you're not asking for pity. You're extending a hand. You're saying, me too. And that me too can change everything. Because empathy doesn't live in perfection. It lives in shared pain. That's where real connection begins. In the trembling honesty between two souls who dare to be seen. Your story, your sorrow, your survival, these are not just memories. They're medicine. And when you offer them, you become a healer, even without meaning to. You show others that broken does not mean beyond repair. It means becoming real. We were never meant to impress each other. We were meant to see each other. And sometimes the only way to be seen is to stop hiding the parts of us that hurt. The universe doesn't choose the flawless ones to do its quiet miracles. It chooses the ones who bleed with grace. The ones who have learned to keep their hearts open, even when it's easier to close them. So don't be afraid to show your cracks. They are not your weakness. They are your invitation. Because every time you let someone see you, truly see you, you remind them that they can do the same. And in that moment of mutual honesty, something divine awakens between you. Two imperfect souls, remembering that they were never meant to be perfect, only real. That is connection through brokenness. That is how the light travels, from one open heart to another, until the whole world begins to glow. In the end, all of life comes down to this. The light does not seek perfection. It seeks passage. And it will find its way through you, through your cracks, your scars, your tender, unguarded places. The world told you to hide them, to mend yourself until you looked whole again. And the universe has been waiting for you to stop trying to shine so that it can shine through you. You were never meant to be flawless. You were meant to be transparent. Because when you let the light through your wounds, you become something the untouched can never be. A living testament to the strength that comes from surrender. You've learned, haven't you, that real beauty is not in perfection, but in presence. Not in always being strong, but in daring to be soft in a world that has forgotten how. Every crack in you tells the story of survival. Every scar says, I have lived, I have lost, I have loved, and I am still here. That is beauty. Not the kind that fades when the lights go out, but the kind that glows from within. The kind that grows brighter with every storm you survive. Maybe that's what the universe was trying to show you all along. That brokenness is not your burden. It's your bridge. Through it, others will find their way back to themselves. Through it, you become the mirror that reflects hope into another soul's darkness. You were never too damaged to matter. You were made to matter because you were damaged. You were never too cracked to carry the light. You were cracked so that you could. That is the beauty of brokenness. Not to be the light, but to let the light shine through you. So stop waiting to be perfect before you begin. Begin now. Speak your truth with a trembling voice. Love with hands that still shake. Create with a heart that still mends itself each morning. You are enough. Right here, right now, exactly as you are. Because the world doesn't need another polished mask. It needs another honest heart. It needs yours. And when you finally understand this, when you stop running from your damage and start revealing it as your light, that's when everything changes. That's when the healing begins, not just for you, but for everyone who sees you and whispers, if they can be that open, maybe I can too. And that is how the universe moves through us all, through broken hearts, through trembling hands, through cracks wide enough for the light to pass through. You're not here to be perfect, you are here to be real, to be a reminder that even the shattered can shine. So keep going, keep opening, keep letting the light in. Because you, yes, you, are exactly what the universe has been waiting for. And if this message found you at the right time, if something in you stirred, then maybe it was meant to.
So take a moment, breathe, and let this truth settle into your bones. Your brokenness is beautiful, your damage is divine, and your story isn't over yet. If these words touch something in you, don't let them fade. Share them. Let someone else hear what their soul has been waiting for. Leave your story in the comments, your cracks, your lessons, your light, because your honesty might be the bridge someone else needs to find their way home. And if you want more reminders like this, of truth, of healing, of what it means to be human, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is not just a channel, it's a space for the broken, the becoming, the beautifully human. Welcome home.